Well, you had a debate last night. You had, obviously, election results that came down on Tuesday. And you really have a string now, going back 5 years, of Republicans just losing elections, whether it's based on, races involving individuals or whether it's, issues-based. As we saw in Ohio, it's just a lot of losing going on, unfortunately, the last 3 years. Here to figure it all out is our friend, Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review. They are doing great work there. Make sure you're checking them out at nationalreview.com, as I do. Rich Lowry's on KCMO in Kansas City. Rich, let's start with that debate last night. Your takeaway, anything that stood out that impacts this race at all, or is it still just basically Trump and last night was a sideshow?
Probably the latter. It was a different kind of sideshow than the second debate, which was a chaotic and kind of embarrassing sideshow. This was a tightly run and pretty substantive sideshow, but it's just hard to fathom how much it really matters when the main player on the stage just isn't there, which kind of sucks out of a lot of the drama, sucks out a lot of the consequence, sucks out any potential for big confrontations that really might make a difference. We're playing for a distant second place here. I think DeSantis has done well the way he's done well in all these debates. I mean, he's very solid. He's on message. He delivers his message, but there are no electric moments. It's not really a commanding performance. I thought Nikki Haley was also good. I mean, the scum thing, hitting back at Vivek Ramaswamy is a memorable moment that might play as toughness for her. And Vivek went back to the second debate. He was very obnoxious in the first debate. Then the second debate, he basically apologized for the way he was in the first debate. And last night, he doubled down on his approach from the first debate. So I don't see it helping him, except for he's playing for a certain segment of social media influencers who did love what he did last night.
No, I know. I mean, he's playing for Twitter clicks and likes and things like that. I mean, that's people are telling me, "Oh, Vivek's trending on Twitter." Okay, great. What's that mean? I mean, it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. And that leads me to a broader question, Rich Lowry. I feel like time after time, Republicans are chasing what is this fantasy world of social media clicks and likes while they get their clocks cleaned in elections over the last 5 years. Do you see something to that? And if so, how do they break out of it?
Yeah, so I don't think Tuesday night was a debacle. They lost the gubernatorial race in Kentucky, which was a disappointment. But Andy Beshear, a very popular incumbent Democratic governor, part of it, a political family. His father was also a popular governor, so it's just going to be hard to take him down. Republicans came up short. Virginia, it's basically a 50-50 result, and the legislature just tipped the wrong way. And now that makes a difference, right? Whether you have control or not. So that was a disappointment, but not a debacle. They won the gubernatorial race in Mississippi, which is what you would expect. And then Ohio was, a gut punch, not unexpected, on this pro-abortion referendum. And there's just an unrelieved losing streak. I think 8 in a row now. Doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter what exactly it says. Pro-lifers lose. And we got to figure a way out of that. I don't have any brilliant ideas, but that was disappointing, and that's the area where you expect more defeats to come, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. We saw that here in Kansas last year. We're one of those 8 with an abortion amendment that was on the ballot and went down in absolute flames. So, I mean, as you look at it, Rich, I mean, Joe Biden, all the polling shows that he is less popular than ever. There was that New York Times poll that came out on Sunday that shows Trump beating him in 5 of 6 swing states. But then Tuesday night happens. Do you think Joe Biden basically just has a platform to run on anti-MAGA and abortion? I mean, I don't know what else he's got, and those things seem to work to some degree.
Yeah, that's what he's got. It worked in 2022. Worked, I wouldn't exaggerate it, as I was just explaining, but worked somewhat Tuesday night. And what else can he do? They tell themselves, if you poll his policy initiatives in isolation, they're all very popular, which might be true. But it doesn't mean that people really care about them. They don't care about the infrastructure program more than they do inflation eroding their pocketbook. So they tell themselves, we just explain what we did, and it's going to be magic, and the polls are going to go up. I really doubt that's going to be true. He's a failure on every level. And there's no getting around that the background noise to everything is 3/4 of Americans thinking he's not fit to serve another 4 years. And that number is not going to go down, right? His state is not going to get better. So he easily could lose to Donald Trump. And I think if the election were held today, he would lose to Donald Trump.
What do you see, Rich Lowry, as the issue? And I'm going to play a Laura Ingraham clip from last night regarding the suburbs in this country, and then I'll get the response, because we're having a lot of these same issues here in the Kansas City area.
Election day, the issue was no longer about protecting our kids. It was about keeping Nazis off the school board. Again, it's time to recognize that the suburbs are increasingly left-leaning on the cultural issues. Plus, the Democrats are able to outraise, outspend, and better frame these issues than Republicans.
We saw that play out here in the Kansas City metro again for another election cycle here, Rich. It's happening all over the country. What can the party do about that, if anything?
Yeah, there's no doubt it's not 1996 again in the suburbs. They are just have a deep left-wing cultural inclination that's hard to overcome. So that's the reality. We all need to acknowledge that. But you can, with the right kind of approach and right kind of candidate, make gains in the suburbs, and still appeal to Trump-type voters, still be principled and aggressive on the substance without needlessly being radioactive to people. Glenn Youngkin obviously did this in Virginia when he was on the ballot directly himself. DeSantis has done it in Florida, Brian Kemp in Georgia, and there are other examples. But it's a tricky thing, and we just got to realize that the suburbs they're not as the friendly territory they used to be.
Yeah, and you got to get out of a primary too, right? And that's what makes it difficult. The primary process may not lead to the person that ultimately can win a general or win in the suburbs wherever you are in the country.
Yeah, correct. I mentioned Youngkin. He won. If there had been a straight primary in Virginia, he never would have gotten on the ballot in the first place. But it was kind of a weird hybrid kind of convention sort of deal where he didn't have to go full MAGA, and then was saleable in a general. But in a lot of these primaries, you do have to go full MAGA, and that's the problem.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what do you see then, Rich Lowry, who's joining us, editor of the National Review on KCMO? As we look forward, 12 months, you mentioned 2024, what this is going to look like. How is it going to play out? What is the thing that Republicans might be missing out on that they need to be focused on going in the next year?
Well, the thing, unfortunately, that most Republicans are missing out on is it would be good to nominate someone else besides Donald Trump. It really would. I think, DeSantis or Haley would win pretty readily over Joe Biden. I mean, I think in that circumstance they really might try to switch out Joe Biden, although it would be difficult. And then, if it's Trump, there's no people aren't going to like him more. They just aren't. It's just baked in. But he's got a chance to win on the argument that people are inclined to believe that things are better, under him than they are under Biden. And if he has a double-digit lead on the economy, foreign affairs, the border, the way he does now, he could be in jail and still win. Well,
but here's the thing, too. If you look at it, Trump's going to sit there and say, everyone says I'm unelectable. Well, this New York Times poll comes out and says I'm winning in swing states.
Yep. No, exactly. And this is obviously DeSantis has been hurt most by the polling.
Yeah.
Because he says I'm more electable than Trump, which I think is true. But it's hard to get anyone to believe it when Trump's polling better against Biden at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's tough. But it's still something could break in Iowa. But if it's going to break in Iowa, it needs to start doing it sometime soon. We're beginning to get late days here, because the caucus is January 15th.
Do you see the Kim Reynolds endorsement in Iowa having any substantial difference for DeSantis up there?
Don't know, but it could. The case for DeSantis, or the positive scenario, is just he kind of budges. He hasn't budged and gone up anywhere. Like in the last 6 months, it's all been down or flat. If he can, get a little spring in a step in Iowa, and then make the case, okay, if you want to stop Trump, we got to do it here, and I'm the guy, and get a rallying around. That's the most positive scenario for him. I'm not predicting it, not saying it's going to happen. I'm also not ruling it out.
Last thing, Rich, here, just the diversity of the Republican Party. One thing you saw in that New York Times poll, the more diverse the swing state, the more likely they were to go Republican. The more white the swing state, the more likely they were to go to Joe Biden. What does that say about the future of the party?
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's encouraging. We saw the beginning of that trend during the Trump presidency. And if the party has a more working class orientation, if it does it right, there are a lot of working class people who aren't white, lot. And you should be able to win some of them over, and we might be seeing that as we speak.
Well, Rich Lowry, we always appreciate your time in Kansas City. Thanks so much for being here on KCMO.
Hey, absolutely. The Chiefs, by the way, they're a national franchise now. I can't believe how much Chief paraphernalia I see here in the Northeast.
Really? So you're seeing it all over, New York and D.C.? What, Kelsey jerseys, Swift jerseys? What are you seeing?
Yeah. The whole thing. I mean, they're on the map because they won a couple Super Bowls, but this is really upped it to a different level. Halloween here in the Northeast, a lot of Chief stuff.
Wow. All right. Well, how about that?
Come on.
So I love it.
Big.
I love it.
Yourself.
Well, so that last thing. So are you telling us, Rich Lowry, that you were Travis Kelce and your significant other was Taylor Swift? Did you guys do that for Halloween?
I did suggest not to me, but to the kids, that one be Taylor and the other be Travis. It didn't quite happen, but I thought it was a brilliant idea. Turns out Mitt and Ann Romney did it instead.
Oh gosh, now you ruined it for everybody. Rich Lowry on KCMO. Whenever you want to come out to a game, Rich, we've got the tickets for you, my friend. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, that'd be great.
We'll get you all set up.
All right, take care.
You bet. That is Rich Lowry on KCMO. Always good to have him on the show.